an interesting set, I would have to say. And I'm glad we discussed them, I think.
You
Maybe.
did. Oh, now you know about dying constipated scorpions
Everything I always wanted to know.
and moose crash test dummies.
Welcome everybody to the 43rd episode of the Struggling Scientist podcast. We are a podcast by scientists, for scientists, anybody science adjacent, and perhaps even hobbyists. My name is Susanne and I'm here with my co-host Jaron.
Hi.
Today we're going to talk about the Ig Nobel Prizes of 2022. Now these were already awarded in September, but we didn't have the chance to talk about them since we had so many amazing guests lately. But now we're going to take our opportunity to talk about this really funny, interesting research that was awarded Ig Nobel Prizes. So let's start. Okay, another episode, Jadon. It was actually your idea to talk about these Ig Nobel Prizes.
I have many ideas. You'll have to be more specific.
Okay. But why don't you start with telling us a little bit about what these Ig Nobel Prizes actually are?
Yeah, sure thing. So the Ig Nobel Prize, as the name sort of suggests, is a more satirical joke on the Nobel Prizes. This was founded in 1991, and it was made by it's organized by the Annals of Improbable Research, a sort of scientific humor magazine. And what happens here is that it's a prize or an award that's awarded to research that is, as they themselves put it makes people laugh first and then makes them think. And as you'll soon see from some of the winners from this year, the titles of their research, it will indeed make you laugh. And yeah, so what happens at these awards is that the researchers will get this Ig Nobel Prize handed to them by a Nobel laureate. And this takes place at Harvard. And then apparently afterwards, they can then give like a speech or a public lecture at MIT. I think that's basically it.
But these past few years it was online, right?
Yes, that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's basically the Ig Nobel.
Cool. Well, let's start with the first one. It was awarded for safety engineering. That's the category at least.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually not a paper. It's a thesis, a master thesis. Now, I think if you win the Ig Nobel Prize for your master thesis, then you have sort of made it already.
I mean, that definitely stands out more than a journal publication, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. But the whole thing it was about, it's actually called Moose Crash Test Dummy. Because apparently, moose car collisions are a huge problem with many fatal outcomes.
All parties involved are not happy about it, I guess.
No. But apparently, this is a real problem, of course, and people have been getting really injured. And they really needed a method to better stage these accidents so that you can sort of test how to make cars safer for this.
Mm-hmm.
And to do this, they needed a moose dummy to crash into, basically.
And before this, no one had ever made one.
Apparently not a good one. And so they went to the zoo and they investigated mooses. Moose. And they investigated mooses there. Yeah, I don't know what to...
I don't know either.
They investigated some mooses there. And they also used a recently killed and still warm moose to rigorously investigate it.
Mm-hmm.
And get an idea for the animal structure. And then they made it out of rubber and metal plates. Metal bases and rubber plates.
Mm-hmm.
Made a moose dummy that apparently can be used multiple times in crashes. And they also made sure that the center of gravity and the shape was moose-like.
That's good.
Yeah. They also used some modeling and everything for it. So, I mean, it's still science, right? But and they crashed some cars into it. I believe there was at least one Volvo involved in this. Oh yeah, 2 modern Saabs and 1 old Volvo. And apparently the crash results were very much like the cars that had run into real mooses. So, yeah.
And the correct plural for moose is moose.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you looked it up because I didn't know.
Yes, we scienced this. Yeah.
Okay, wow. But I think if you get this as your master's thesis, that's already pretty cool.
No, for sure. I mean, you can say you've attended an award ceremony and won an,
Yeah. No.
many
And
people.
I'm sure it is a real problem. I'm sure, but it just sounds so funny. Which is the thing with most of these things, right?
Yes, but this, I think, yeah, Sweden. It probably is a big problem in Sweden.
Scandinavia, they say. Scandinavia.
Yeah.
Okay, Jadon, what is our next one?
Yeah, so the next prize is in art. There's the Art History Prize, which was awarded to the Netherlands because amazing research only comes out of the Netherlands, Guatemala, USA, and Austria.
Okay.
And the title of the study is A Multidisciplinary Approach to Ritual Enema Scenes on Ancient Maya Pottery.
Wait, what?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yes. The ritual enema scenes on ancient Maya pottery. I don't know how much clearer I can get about it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, in what they talk about is that that the Mayans have pottery that indicates enema scenes, and this undoubtedly represents rituals which may very well indicate that the ancient Maya took intoxicating enemas in a ritual.
Oh, wait. There were drugs involved too.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They believe it was some sort of alcoholic beverage. Wait, but I'm getting to that. So, so it's funny because in their abstract, they say that there was this sort of held belief of the Maya being this sort of contemplative people. They're very, smart, and I guess. And now this whole enema scenes depicted on their pottery apparently is the other camp of, but they also did this. And they also talk about the occasional display of vomiting actors, which would seem to provide a plausible reason for why the Maya had to switch to rectal application of an alcoholic beverage instead of drinking it, because otherwise you would vomit. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
so
yeah.
It had to be taken rectally. There's no other way, right?
I'm so glad that somebody in the Netherlands spent some time on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anecdotal experimental evidence suggests that an alcoholic liquid may certainly induce or intensify a state of inebriation.
Anecdote?
Yes. I read that and I need to say this on podcast.
So he tried it himself.
Yeah, well, actually, they interviewed him on the ceremony, and the author said, yes, I have tried this.
Oh my God.
But you shouldn't go above 10% alcohol concentration.
Okay.
Yeah, so he said this at the ceremony that he tried it, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I believe it was actually the Dutch author.
Well, I'm glad he showed up for the ceremony and was like proud of what he did.
Yeah, he's committed. You don't research this and, half-ass it, if you will. So, that was it. I don't know what more anyone could ever want from enema research.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So what can you do to top that?
Okay, so the next one is a bit more serious topic. Serious. Yes. It's about, it's a prize for medicine.
Mm-hmm.
It's the research was based in Poland. And the title is Icecream used as cryotherapy during high-dose methylene conditioning reduces oral mucositis after autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. Okay. Yeah. So the thing of this paper is that these are patients that have to undergo some forms of toxic chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
And with this really harms their mucosal in their throat. And this is apparently one of the worst side effects of this treatment because it really impacts their life and sometimes they cannot eat well anymore. So they have to be intubated. No, not intubated. They have to get a tube for feeding and stuff. So that's really, really bad.
Yeah.
And now they know that it helps if you keep ice chips in your mouth while you get this chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is that lasts a couple of hours. And the chemotherapy toxicity stops relatively quickly after they stop giving it. But during those couple of hours, you then need to constantly keep those ice chips in your mouth for it to work properly. and then people often stop earlier because they think it's too cold and they don't like it, whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of institutes were actually giving patients nice tasting ice cream because that worked just better. People had to eat that very slowly, and so they were doing that, but nobody had actually investigated if those ice creams would also work. So these people thought, well, hey, that seems like a good thing for research. So they actually reevaluated data from that was already available, so they didn't have to do this like specifically. And then they had in total 74 patients, of which 52 received the cryotherapy. 52 received the cryotherapy with ice cream, and then the other ones did not. I'm not exactly sure why these patients chose to not do it at all, but I guess there was a reasoning.
Hated ice cream.
Yeah, but you could also do the ice chips. So
no.
I don't know. And then they tested that it really indeed helped to give these patients ice cream. And this ice cream was just sourced from like the hospital cafeteria, and they were actually given 3 doses throughout the couple of hours that they were sitting there. And they had to eat it just slowly, and then it helped. So I guess in terms of patients' happiness, it's actually a really interesting, important study that it helps good enough.
Published in scientific reports. So,
yes,
yeah,
but I can understand why it's sort of a type of study that makes you laugh a bit first. Like ice cream as a treatment is a bit interesting, right?
No, for sure. Yeah.
But I honestly think it's a really cool paper. So
no, for sure, I agree. It's actually helpful for patients. I mean, this improves their quality of life.
It's the most translational one out of here, I think.
Yeah. Are you saying the enemas don't translate well?
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't,
Yeah.
Maybe just not for me.
Shocker. Yeah.
Okay, what is our next one, Jadon?
Yes, so the next paper the next prize, is the biology prize awarded to Brazil at Columbia. They actually published like 3 papers on it, but I'll only really highlight, I guess, their main one.
The one that won the prize.
All 3 of them are sort of listed, but
okay.
Yeah. So the title of the paper is "Short and Long-Term Effects of an Extreme Case of Autotomy. Does tail loss and subsequent constipation decrease the locomotor performance of male and female scorpions?" So,
okay, well, that's very different than what I just talked about.
Yes. So some clarification. If you're unfamiliar with autotomy, that's basically like losing a limb or a body part to sort of get away, I guess, from like predators and stuff like that.
Okay.
So apparently these types of scorpions that they look at in this study are able to basically eject their scorpion tail and part of the lower part of their digestive
abdomen,
their digestive system, specifically their anus, to the point where yes, they'll survive and they lose like 25% of their body mass, but they also are permanently constipated.
But they cannot eat anymore then.
No, they can eat. It just they are permanently constipated, and they'll eventually die after a couple of months. But so this is a lot to take in, of course. But the benefit of this sort of survival tactic for the males is that they can still reproduce in those couple of months.
Oh yeah, because that's not located on the tail.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So they just cannot do poop. But in the meantime, they can have sex.
That seems like a major problem.
Oh no, they'll definitely die. There's no way around that.
But in the meantime,
they can sex. Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but this paper
yes.
was not interested in any of that because that was still already known.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was actually interested in figuring out whether losing your tail had short-term or long-term effects on their ability to move.
Oh yeah, okay. And did it?
Short-term, no, not for males or females. Long-term for males.
Why only for males?
I'm not exactly sure. But basically that even though it would long-term impact the male sort of locomotor performance, as long as they manage to have sex in that time, they're okay.
Oh.
They'll still die, but it's okay.
I also see standing here, death by constipation takes several months.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, these poor animals.
Hey, they got to live.
For a couple of months. Okay.
So, yes. So that's a thing.
That's a thing.
You can...
I'm so glad it's a thing.
Just imagine if humans could eject a leg and anus.
And then die after a couple months of constipation. I mean...
Yes.
I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
But maybe we have the enemas to make it all better.
Yeah, there you go.
So we have connected it all. Okay.
It's all connected. This entire ceremony was about enemas and anuses. Yes.
Oh.
Which brings us to your next paper.
No, it doesn't. Okay, my next one is for physics. And it's about trying to understand how ducklings manage to swim in formation. Because, if you see little ducks walking behind their mother, they're always in this neat row.
Mm-hmm.
And they also swim like that. And they were really interested in how do these ducklings do this? How do they so perfectly go a certain distance behind each other, right?
Yeah.
Turns out they actually sort of surf the waves of their mother. So the first duckling surfs on the main wave of their mother, and then the next duckling sort of uses the waves of the first duckling and the mother to sort of ride that. And in total, this all for average of the ducklings, it equates to 60% energy saving to surf these waves while they swim. So that's why they do that and how they do it. And there's a lot more physics in this paper that I don't really understand. But that's what it's all about.
Okay.
And they mathematically and physically sort of calculated all of that. And yeah. Hey, moving on to the next one. Jaron, tell us.
From ducklings, we segue perfectly into economics.
Okay.
Specifically in Italy. No, but the next prize is for economics. It was awarded to Italy, and it was awarded for explaining mathematically why success most often goes to not the most talented people, but instead the luckiest.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. No.
Yeah. So the title of the paper is Talent versus Luck, the Role of Randomness in Success and Failure. And yeah, what they did in this paper is, well, mathematically they ran some simulations. They sort of ran it on like a simulation of 1,000 people so like IQ is sort of normally distributed, and they sort of assume like your talent and your skills are also normally distributed. But among these 1,000 people or 1,000 simulation things, they also added the variable of luck and stuff like that, and they measure how much capital you accrue based on your luck. So if something lucky happens to you, you sort of double your capital. And basically what ended up happening is that much like in real life, where a small portion of like the overall population accounts for like a massive percentage of all the wealth in the world, billionaires basically, this also ended up happening in their simulation. So it mirrored this thing that they refer to a lot as the Pareto law, where 80% of all the results come from 20% of a group of people of like 20%.
Okay.
And yeah, luck just had like such a massive influence on like how well the simulations performed after lots of iterations. And they also then translate this into other things as well, not just like sort of capital, but also like looking at grant funding for scientists and academic research as well.
Oh.
So yeah, there's a lot more on that. It's a pretty long paper and with lots of calculations and statistics, but it's a pretty interesting read because it really just sort of hits on that thing about being sort of the society being kind of unfair with lots, like very few people getting outsized rewards, whereas lots of people being sort of poor and left at the bottom. And it's not necessarily due to talent or anything like that. It's just luck. So, and they've mathematically shown it. So.
Okay. And what do they say about grants?
So basically, it's more about that it tends to be like there's this other principle called, or another effect called the Matthew effect, where the rich get richer. So if you're a grant agency, you're more likely to give a big grant to a well-known professor because they've had great results in the past, and you think, well, probably they're going to have more great results and stuff like that. So you're more likely to, the prize money is more likely to end up there. But what they sort of show, well, not really show, but sort of suggest in their paper as well, is that you would be better off, instead of giving off one big prize pot and splitting it off into tinier amounts, So you can sort of distribute it among more people and see what comes out of that, sort of distributing the money more to different researchers. Because it's not necessarily that the big professors are actually providing outsized results, really. It's they have more money, but their results are not necessarily better than if you had given it to someone else.
Okay.
So it's a large paper. It's a lot of statistics. It's pretty interesting. I actually want to read it in more depth. And it's also interesting. 2 of these authors for this paper have actually won an Ig Nobel Prize before.
Oh.
Yes. So this is their second time winning it. So in 2010, they won it for management, where they showed that again, mathematically, that organizations would become more efficient if they promoted people at random. Again, sort of like the rich get richer. So if you're better off like spreading out and just promoting people at random, and then you could see sort of people who are talented but are getting passed up for opportunities make their way to the top more than the current system.
Okay.
Yeah, because maybe someone at the top would prefer hiring people who are dumber so they look better or something along those lines, I guess. But that's a completely separate paper.
Yes. Well, the next one is for engineering. And it's actually about trying to discover the most efficient way for people to use their fingers when turning a knob.
I am intrigued.
Well, I was too, actually. But the problem is that this entire paper is in Japanese.
I am more intrigued.
And the website, it was almost also in Japanese.
Yeah.
Now, I did find somebody who interviewed the person who wrote this paper.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to sort of trust what they write, right?
Yeah.
And apparently, he is a designer of products, and he's a quite well-known designer, awarded and stuff for it. And he spent 6 years investigating this. And his major findings are that if a knob is bigger, people tend to use more fingers.
Uh-huh.
And he exactly like investigated how many fingers for which size knob, of course.
Yeah, there's a clear correlation. Yes.
The bigger the knob, the more fingers you use. So from this to this size, you only use 3 fingers, and then
Yeah, up to 5, I guess.
He also shows what then the best position is for the grooves on this knob to be the best for your fingers. And he spent 6 years on that.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a bit. I mean, he's happy he won the prize. But he's also a bit confused.
This is some serious research right here.
Because apparently he is like an award-winning designer who spent 6 years on this research, and like, yeah.
Yeah. Why is no one else investigating this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently they do also really try hard to include Japanese. Well, at least in the last few years of the Ig Nobel, Japanese research also was often a big part of it, of the one. And I think it's cool that even though this article is not in English, they still managed to include it. The abstract is in English, but that's all we get.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like if you optimize and figure out exactly the ratio of fingers to knobs, maybe some multi-million billion dollar company might be interested in
Well,
that.
yeah, if you design a product, it's actually relevant, I think.
Yeah.
It was just really interesting to look at this paper and see all these pictures of fingers and different size knobs and have no clue what it was about. So I'm glad somebody interviewed the guy and wrote it down in English. It was nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then that brings us obviously to our next one, which is Applied Cardiology Prize, which was awarded to the Czech Republic, the Netherlands, UK, Sweden, and my home country, or island, I guess, Aruba. Surprisingly.
Yeah, I didn't know science was done in Aruba.
It's not.
Well, apparently it is.
Yeah.
You just missed it. You could have been investigating.
I could have been in nature.
Oh, wow. This is
in
nature.
nature. Yes, exactly. I could have been in nature. I don't know what to do.
Okay, but what would have you actually been investigating if you were in nature?
So if I were to win the Ig Nobel Prize for applied cardiology, it would
Aruba,
be
yes.
It would be for seeking and finding evidence that when romantic partners meet for the first time and feel attracted to each other, their heart rates synchronize. Yes, let that sink in for a moment.
But how? How did they investigate this?
So I saw the video of exactly how that looked. They basically recruited some people for their sort of dating simulation thing, and had the people sit sort of opposite each other in like a tiny room with like a sort of wooden frame around them that they can only really see each other. They had a lot of electrodes like put on top of them and stuff like that, measuring like heart rate, how much they're sweating, those kinds of things. And the only thing that really correlated well with whether the partners were attracted to each other or not wasn't heart rate or anything like that, but was whether their heart rates or whether their hearts synchronized. So what that looked like on, for example, an ECG was that there were certain moments in their heart rates where like the waves would go up together for both the male and the female, or go down at the same time. Yeah, that was their major find.
But how? So these people afterwards had to say if they found the person attractive.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So, yeah, and so this is called synchrony, and the authors were interviewed about this, and they wanted to look more into the effects of synchrony on different types of decision making as well, and how this affects sort of human life in general for things that we can't really regulate, right? Can't really hide the fact that our heart rates are synchronizing with someone else's heart rate.
Yeah, but how can you tell? I mean,
measuring.
Yeah, but you as a person doesn't know. You know how your own heart is behaving, and if you feel attracted to the other person, but you cannot tell if the other person is attracted back.
No, there's no way for you, like you is the individual to actually tell, right? But I mean, I guess you could sort of.
I am not sure about this one. I mean,
nature, human behavior, baby. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
Okay, well, interesting for sure, I guess.
Yep. I mean, I can see that it has some applications in the future of like, you can maybe predict whether two people are actually attracted to each other. I don't know how you would actually 100% do that. I mean, it could just be random chance that they synchronize, of course. In this case, I would think it was pretty controlled since they couldn't really do anything else. So, I don't know. I think it's interesting. And hey, chalk one up for Aruba.
Yes. Okay, then the next one is the Peace Prize. And it's actually a very collaborative paper between China, Hungary, Canada, the Netherlands, UK, Italy, Australia, Switzerland, and the USA.
The Netherlands is pretty present, yeah.
True, yeah. And it's for developing an algorithm to help gossipers decide when to tell the truth and when to lie.
Everything I've always wanted.
So it wasn't actually like the idea to develop an algorithm to help gossipers decide when they have to lie and when they have to tell the truth. They just wanted to investigate when people were more likely to lie and when people were less likely to lie. So they have the gossiper and then the target who they're gossiping about, and then the middle person who is hearing the gossip. And they say that gossip is usually done with the intent to either solve a problem or like to have the person, the in-between person, sort of talk with the target and have something happen. And then the relationships between these three people are really important. Now they found that they are more often to lie if that benefits their friends, or like tell something way more positive about a friend, or tell something negative that will help a friend. That is what happens most of the time. Now, if they're both friends, both the in-between person and the other person is a friend, then they will benefit the person that they like the most, or themselves. Of course, you always put yourself first, and then you try to help the friend you like the most.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they discovered.
Okay.
Yeah. There was also a lot of... It's quite a difficult paper to read, I find. It's of course also not my field, I would say. There's a lot of math also in it. But yeah, that's how I understood this paper. That in the end, it's all about the payoff for yourself, and then about like the relations with the other two people. But what I did find really interesting is that they do see gossip as a way to get something done.
I mean, right? Yeah. I mean, you can. I'm thinking about this sort of politically, like you can sort of spread rumors about your political opponents, I guess, as
Mhm.
well. So I don't know. I think gossip can definitely get things done, depending on how you use it.
Yeah, but also not always in a negative way, apparently. No. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
I can understand why it got the prize. Because I actually read the interview of like the writers of this paper with a, and they actually said that they didn't understand why they were picked for this award until somebody said that they were basically showing gossipers when to lie and when to not lie.
Yeah.
And then it all clicked, like, oh my god, that's not what we meant to do. So yeah, that's funny.
The and then make you think hit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that brings us then to the last prize for the Ig Nobel this year, the Literature Prize. I know you're so excited. Everyone is so excited for this one right now. But it was awarded to Canada, USA, UK, and Australia for analyzing what makes legal documents unnecessarily difficult to understand. And this is where everyone's interests and ears percolate.
Okay, what makes it so difficult?
Poor writing, not specialized concepts, drives processing difficulty in legal language. So, contrary to popular belief, it's not necessarily that the legalese or the use of difficult jargon is what causes it, but like just poor writing in general. So they analyzed like 10 million words and also compared like documents that like it says the exact same thing, but one is the legalese version as they themselves say it, and the other one is like, okay, it's straight to the point, no real jargon. This is what it's the exact same thing, just without the legalese. And yeah, it's just literally the poor writing that ended up influencing the difficulty for people to understand what they're reading and actually work with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there really isn't that much more to it. It's interesting just because I think everyone who's ever seen anything legalese is just like, God, no.
Yes.
But apparently it's not the use of the jargon that is the part that actually dissuades people or helps or this actively negates comprehension, I guess.
I think it would be a lot better if they also just made understandable sentences with these difficult words.
True. But I mean, at a certain point, you also then need to understand the words, right? And you're not someone who's familiar in that.
But that's apparently not the biggest problem.
No. True.
Okay. Well, that were all the Ig Nobel prizes.
Yes.
An interesting set, I would have to say. And I'm glad we discussed them, I think.
You did. Well, now you know about dying constipated scorpions.
Everything I always wanted to know.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. And moose crash test dummies.
Yes.
Which one was your favorite?
I think it has to be the moose crash test dummies, just because it's a master thesis.
Ah, yeah, the.
And I think that's cool.
This is definitely like this master student is getting any PhD they want.
Hopefully, yeah. No, maybe this is his career from now on.
The moose crash test dummy guy.
Yeah, maybe a company will snatch him up.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was our episode. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, papers really need to read, or do you want to be part of our podcast, you can email us, thestrugglingscientist@hotmail.com, or contact us via our website, thestrugglingscientist.com, where you can also sign up for our amazing newsletter, where you can keep up to date with papers like these and many other topics. And you can also find our amazing merch. And we also have social media where you can follow us. Jadon, which ones are those again?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now also Mastodon.
Yes. And everywhere you can find us as The Struggling Scientist. We're really happy that you listened to us again and hope to see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.